thing called corruption in Nigeria. Obviously, it's taking different, or rather, takes different shapes, and we need to employ a sustainable anti-corruption strategy that will deliver effective poverty reduction. And to do that, citizens have to definitely participate, and that's why this conversation today on Industry Hub is quite fundamental. How can we curb corruption in Nigeria through citizens' participation? Right, that is our focus. How can you participate in the process of fighting corruption in Nigeria? Another way to put things, and we would see how much we can cover on the show today. So, but you can be part of the conversation from your experience, from what you maybe have seen or read, have experienced. You want to talk about how citizens can participate in tackling corruption in Nigeria. We would like to hear from you as we engage in an analysis of this today. 0909-555-1039 and 0703-2277-338 numbers to call. You do know that there are several ways that government tries to curb and tackle corruption in the country, Nigeria. Corruption in governance and in different spheres, or different other spheres. And one way is by the creation of agencies of government to tackle different sort of corruption. There is the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. There is the Independent Corrupt Practices and Related Offences Commission. Yeah, and they're saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that they investigate and prosecute corrupt cases in the country. There's even the Nigeria Police Force, right, also into investigation and prosecution of crime in the country, and corruption is essentially a crime, right? But how can citizens participate a lot more to ensure that we tackle this hydra-headed problem? A problem that has different faces. It comes up and springs up in different ways with different forms, right? And usually when you call on the radio, when you call and you want to have conversations, you say that, oh, this happens. You point fingers at administrations of government, you point fingers at certain agencies of government and the rest, and say, oh, this is what they do, this is what. But how can you participate? How can you be part of the process to ensure that this is tackled, this is curbed, in different ways? Okay, so as we do engage with our guest this morning, we would also encourage that you be part of the conversation. Besides just listening, you can pop questions. You can also state what you what you can do, or what you're looking to see, what you hope to see, and ways you would like government to tackle corruption. We're speaking this morning with the Deputy Director, Social Economic Rights and Accountability Project SERAP on this conversation about how you can participate as a citizen in tackling corruption in Nigeria. Kolawole Oluwadare, again, is the Deputy Director, Social Economic Rights and Accountability Project. Good morning to you and welcome to the show today.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. All right. So we've been speaking with Nigerians. So we've requested that Nigerians tell us how they can participate and play a part in tackling corruption. Now we have the call. Let's take that call before we come to you. Hello, good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Boko. I'm calling from Ireland.
All right, you're welcome. Real quick, your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you very much. You are doing good for the program.
Yeah, thank you.
But what I have to say this morning is that most of the time we talk on radio, we talk on television, we talk everywhere. But those talks are not yielding fruit. I'm not seeing any fruit these talks are yielding. That is just my problem. In the issue of this increase in school fees, It's a surprising thing to me. I can say we the rich family, don't let me say we the poor family.
Okay.
They have killed us, they have pushed us to the war. They want us to go out of the after of the war.
Okay, so
that's the situation that is facing us now.
Yeah, on that particular one, we probably would have time for that conversation. I'm sorry, we've got to focus on corruption right now and talk about how to tackle that. So let's go straight to the conversation with Kolawole Oluwadare, Deputy Director of SERAP this morning. Welcome again to the program.
Thank you very much, and good morning once again.
Yeah, good morning. Okay, so let's get straight down to that. Last week it was, we spoke about ways citizens can participate and ensure that they're involved with the process of tackling corruption in the country, especially because this would inadvertently affect citizens, right? Citizens in every nation. Let's focus on Nigeria, would be the ones who would be negatively impacted if corrupt officials continue to embezzle what is meant for the people, right? So let's expand the conversation some more. In what ways now can citizens engage actively to tackle corruption?
Thank you very much. I think we need to underscore any kind of actions we would expect from citizens with a basic understanding, which is why our own advocacy has been on. We also engage in citizen education so that people understand. So we're not just acting without understanding. So in the long run, what would help will be an attitudinal change, and that will ultimately lead to a behavioral change. And so it doesn't mean Nigerians are not acting as it were, even though it would be helpful if we do more. It means that our actions are within the context of we know why we need to fight corruption. And that means that for every political cycle, and I refer to the process of electionary and everything that comes along with it. If we have that understanding, it would face the way the people as electorates would interact with those who they are meant to vote into office. It would also shape the conversations we will have about those who they are appointed into various offices. So I think it's very important. But along those lines, there are some sort of low-hanging fruit of short-term measures. It would mean engaging with those in public offices from the point of view of knowing that they represent us. It would mean that we'll be effective whistleblowers when we see what is wrong or what is corrupt. It would mean that we're able to monitor projects in our localities and vicinities. It would mean that we're able to research and have meaningful conversations on platforms like this without ethnicity, without tribe, religion, and politics. Really, that would be one of the best ways for citizens to engage in the fight against corruption.
All right, Kolawole, but perhaps you might want to give us some, from your experience in the crusade against corruption in Nigeria, what are the forms, what are the ways that we see corruption? We just talk about corruption, but sometimes it will interest you to know that some people don't even know what it means, or does it have a color? Is it a human being? Does it have a shape? Is it a living thing? How come they say it's hydra-headed? How come people say it's like an octopus? It's all over, taking the fabrics or all over the fabrics of the country. Is it only official corruption? Are there also corruption in the public sector, in the private sector? Perhaps you might want to break this down a little bit for us.
Thank you very much. I'm hearing corruption described as an octopus for the first time. I'm not the hydra-headed one. And I've also had this thing called the elephant in the room. So when I hear that corruption is taking on many shapes of animals, including snakes swallowing money and monkeys also eating money. This has been our experience in Nigeria. But I think, like we discussed earlier, that I think we understand what corruption is at the people. For the purposes of this conversation, corruption would simply mean anything that is done out of the proper order with some kind of personal gain or benefit. And the two ingredients which I've mentioned is...
Sorry to come in. Personal gain for the person who is the official, or is it the person who wants it to be done? Maybe
I was about to explain that right. Personal gain might even be third party. And that is why it doesn't even have to be money. It could be anything. For instance, your ward wants to gain admission to a tertiary institution, and you know he or she doesn't meet the cut-off mark. But because he knows someone who knows someone, he gets in. He or she has just taken the place of somebody that actually merited it. That's corruption. So it doesn't have to involve money. And so when we talk of corruption, I think perhaps we get carried away with corruption in public institutions. Of course, corruption, like you said, is all pervasive. It's everywhere. And so we need to understand what it means. And ultimately, it doesn't benefit everyone. It may look like a short-term gain, but a long-term benefits. But the one we appear to talk most about is that of public institutions, because it would appear that it has a negative effect on more people. So, for instance, money allocated to a specific ministry to construct classrooms or remodel classrooms, if they are not spent, if they are embezzled, you would understand it would affect a lot number of children in that vicinity. The same thing will apply to roads, to health system, which can even affect the lives of people. So that is there. But corruption, as it were, means anything that is done out of the due process with a personal interest, either to the person who is taking an act or even to a third-party interest. It could be anything. For instance, even during the process of election, trying to offer money for people to vote is still corruption. The person receiving the money to vote is still corruption. So these are all corrupt acts. In whatever form we want to look at them.
So let's, before we come to, of course, we're talking about that already, and again, like you mentioned, there is usually a lot of focus in public institutions, elected officials and the rest, and even the civil service. So let's talk about this, the citizen side to this. That's maybe the flip side to this, to corrupt practices amongst citizens. How best do you think this can be tackled? Because it's easy for anyone to point fingers and say, oh, this representative, that was sent to Abuja or the State House of Assembly is not doing this, is probably embezzling money and the rest. And meanwhile, like you just give an analogy, we practice these things and we see them as little in our communities, the way we call for favors, from here and there, and they don't end up being ordinary favors. Some things have to be done, to get those favors from this person. How best can this be handled? And how also, I hope that you can compress this together. Can the citizen understand and desist from this?
I think the knowledge of the cost of corruption should ideally be an incentive enough for citizens to not only engage in acts of corruption, but to also be an effective whistleblower. But I think that hasn't helped so far too. But I think it still holds the key, because when we understand in our collective interest how corruption doesn't help, it should be the best incentive ideally to say, okay, I know the effect of this, I don't negative impact on myself and other people, I shouldn't do this. But perhaps the conversation can go a bit further so that people understand within the context of the democratic practice how governance works. So they understand that there is a national budget. The national budget dovetails into the state's budget. The state budget, of course, also gives birth to the budget of the local government. And there are specific funds allocated for specific projects within that particular fiscal year. And that the budget component, I'm just giving an example, the budget component comprises of recurrent expenditure and capital expenditure. And that means we can also have conversations around how much the salary of the local government chairman should be, the councillor, even up to the president, because it is from this budget for that year that the recurrent expenditure is taken, which is their salary and allowances. So if their salary and allowances takes a bulk of the whole budget, then there is little left for capital expenditure. But again, when we talk of capital expenditure, how much has been allocated to construction, road construction, classroom construction, healthcare facilities and all that? So I think if we understand governance within that context, people will understand that for every kobo lost, for every naira that has found its way into a private pocket, for every position that has been given for reasons other than merit, overall, it will not help us Not at all. I think that's a way to look at this, and then we can begin to talk of different ways where our citizens can help. Be whistleblowing, be brothers keepers, it where making sure they do engage as corruption. They do not give bribes, they do not accept bribes. They follow due process in everything that they do. I think we need to phrase that conversation within that context, rather than do this and do that without a proper understanding of how governance and democracy works.
So, from what you just said, understanding, and which is I suppose the first sentence you use when responding to the last question, understanding how governance work would help citizens participate and tackle corruption. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Great. Okay, so yeah. Yes, I was just going to say that you probably want to then delve into those parts. You just listed them. Maybe break them down a little bit. You mentioned whistleblower. You mentioned, personal habits, something like that. You want to list them again and maybe break them down as steps or processes citizens can use to participate in tackling corruption.
Thank you. I think a key part of it will be demand for transparency and accountability. Lack of transparency and accountability may not necessarily be corruption, but we do know it is definitely an enabler of corruption. So when people understand that when we don't know what goes on in governance, it means that corruption can take place effectively without us knowing. So it means people begin to demand. So, for instance, if I say on air now that I want to know how much the president earns, sometimes some people will feel like, why do I want to know? Does it really help me? It helps me. It helps this conversation. It helps the fight against corruption. And it is a principal part of transparency and accountability. If the president can let us know about the budget for the 2022-2023 fiscal years, why can't we know the part that he is taking out all the salaries and allowances? And this dives down to governors, the deputy governors, the members of the National Assembly, and all the likes. So it means people must know. We need to know. That knowledge in itself is empowering. So conversations like this and any kind of advocacy will be done from that standpoint of we know, and then we can engage meaningfully, which is why the onus in this instance is now on government, public institutions, to be transparent and accountable. And now what the citizens must do is to demand for transparency and accountability. Because when they are not transparent, we do not even know. And so we can do another good example with the Abacha loot, for instance. How much have we made from the oil, and we calculate in terms of naira and kobo, how much has come back into Nigeria by way of Abacha loot? And how have they been spent? If those questions are not asked, those monies could have found their way in private pockets, and we would not be wiser. So it's very important. I think it all starts from transparency and accountability, and citizens demanding for it as a right, because it's not a favor.
Right.
Government should let people know.
All right, Kolawole, perhaps you might also want to touch on automation, use of technology. People say when technology is introduced, it cuts off the tendency or the susceptibility to, be engaged in corruption. Maybe you want to expatiate on that aspect.
Yes. But we should also understand that even behind technology, there are human beings, which is why political will is something that is very, very important. So, for instance, look at our procurement system. The Procurement Act lays down rigid guidelines as to how bids are supposed to be, what can be bought, the thresholds, even those that can bid and time limit and all that. So even if there is technology in that process, for instance, or buying something in the Ministry of Education, for instance, maybe buying desks and lockers for primary school, it is not enough that there is technology. Does the technology make the people aware? Because again, like I said, if we do not know about that process, and then we do not know. And I give a very good example, the UBEC, that's Universal Basic Education Commission. If you go to the website of UBEC, you would see, and for context, one of the statutory functions of UBEC is to act as an agency of government that ensures that all schools in Nigeria, that is primary school up to the first 3 years of secondary school, is free. That is what the UBEC Act says. And so UBEC is partnering with the various states who have a statutory mandate for primary schools to ensure that that is met. So UBEC provides grants, millions of naira annually, and that is state governments must now provide what is called matching grants to ensure that these two funds put together can be used for the benefit of primary school education. But if UPEC has put on its website a list of state governments that have not assessed that matching grant for years, and that means that UPEC is willing to provide its own funds, but those state governments have not come forth with their own funds. If people know this, for instance, can they begin to go back to their states to say, why have you not provided these funds? And so again, it's not about technology alone. Is an enabler. It can help transparency and accountability, but without the political will and the demand on the part of the citizens, it wouldn't necessarily be a cure for corruption.
So Kolawole, but that brings me to the second question I wanted to ask, which is the fact that even the government is made up of citizens. So if you are saying that it takes the government to make the process transparent, where is the government? Is the citizens, not the government? Maybe you want to explain that a little bit for me to understand. Because the government makes this. I mean, the citizens makes the government.
Yes.
Or you beg to differ on that.
Not at all. At least that is what we understand by the social contract theory. That those in the holding offices, whether elected or appointed, are holding that power on behalf of the Commonwealth, the people, and they are administering the Commonwealth on behalf of everyone, and they are answerable to the people. But again, they are not answerable to God, and I think people need to understand that people in positions of power are not answerable to God. No, they are answerable to the people. That is the concept of the social contract theory, which is a key element of democracy. So it means that when they are transparent and accountable, it is because the law says so. They are not doing the people a favor. So when they are citizens first and foremost, then they became the public officers, either elected or appointed. So it means that even before they get to the office, do they understand the nature of the duty they are undertaking on behalf of the people, and are they ready to respond? And primarily, are the people also willing to compel them? And I'll give you another example: asset declarations. This provision in the Constitution is to ensure that those who want to serve the people are transparent. Nobody is saying everybody in public office is a thief or they've done something wrong. But it's a provision of the law, and the law is there. It's a constitutional provision that says that you must declare your asset before you enter public office, and you must do so at the end of your tenure in office. And the law is also very clear. It's a subject of litigation that we are being presently, however, that you must make it known to the public. And so, can we engage? Can people begin to engage that process? It is not to retort anymore, but can we know the assets of those in public offices? Because that is what the law says. So I think it's very important, whether our citizens who are rights holders or citizens who are duty bearers, that these those in public officers, to understand the essence of what we need to do. Because more often times, conversations like this, you hear citizens saying things like, "Why do we need to know? Why do I need to know how much budget is for my state? How does that help me?" It helps because it's the law.
All right, so we're speaking with Kolawole Oluwadare, is a deputy director at the Social Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP. And the conversation essentially has been about tackling corruption in Nigeria and what role you can play as a citizen. Well, this conversation continues. You can tune in 10:25 next week, Friday. Kolawole will be here to engage with you some more. Kolawole, I'm right, yes?
Yes.
All right,
yes,
great then. I suppose there are lots of Nigerians who, listening to you, feel impressed, and they also appreciate the job that you do and the rest of the team do at SERAP, and would want to be part of what you do, or just want to maybe collaborate with you. How can they reach you?
We are available on all social media platforms at SERAP Nigeria, Twitter, Facebook, and every one of them. We are on Threads too. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. We can reach by emails, and this would cover every kind of the initiatives that we take: public education, public enlightenment, citizen engagement, research, and of course public interest litigation. We are always willing to take that up.
The handle one more time, please, and maybe the phone number if you want to. That's fine.
Across all social media platforms, we are at SERAP Nigeria. SERAP Nigeria. It's not SERAP. We are not defined, not in that way. So SERAP Nigeria, and then we can do my email also. That's info@serap-nigeria.org. Info@serap-nigeria.org. And our phone numbers would be 08160537202. I'll put that again. 08160537202. Yes, thank you very much.
Kolawole Oluwadare, Deputy Director, Social Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP. You'd make me be very conscious of that now. Now that you pointed out that it's not SERAP. Not like I didn't know, but put that consciousness there. But that's fine. We'll just leave things there, and thank you so much for being on the program today.
Oh, really, thank you very much. I really appreciate this opportunity. You guys are doing a great one.
Thank you. Thank you too. Alrighty then. Okay, so we'll leave things there this morning, and indeed for the week, let's draw the curtains and open the curtains. Yes, draw it today, reopen the curtains next week, Monday. Thank you again for being a part of the broadcast and for engaging this morning. 9 o'clock next week will be a good time to continue some more conversation around what's happening in the country and around the world. Hope on Facebook says Atiku and Obi might have grounds to challenge this judgment at the Supreme Court, like Tunji has pointed out, but I think it is pointless. Nigeria is on okay. It would be absurd to think that someone like him will allow, he's talking about the president, will allow the dispose him from, we'll leave things there. Thank you for your contribution. You can watch, re-listen to this episode of the show and previous episodes of the show as well across the social media platforms. We're on Facebook, FM 103.9. You can go re-watch the stream there, and we'll definitely love to hear read your comments there as well and know what you are thinking. Okay, well, do stand by for some feel-good tunes this Friday with our DJs standing by to throw you DJUs in the building for that. And indeed, we'll be back at 11:30 for Public Institutions and you. Kingsley Bassey is my name,
and I'm Felix Uzoma.
Until 11:30, be good and keep it locked here on FM 103.9. Good morning to you, Lagos, Nigeria.